Hello, and welcome back to Wild Sun Art Studio. My name is Robinsunne. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you like this video. Today we're having another slow stitch session. There's something about stitching, you know. I think it's where my heart lies. What happens if I come in a little bit? There we go. Yeah, so I love paper. I love fibers of many kind. I've been known to crochet and knit. Certainly paper. But there is something about stitching, holding everything in my hands like this. So, I was having a hard time. I had stacked these cloths together. This one underneath is one that was like a base cloth when I was doing a lot of fabric printing, and it's really a cheap polyester, just plain cloth. And I'd had all the fabric stacked, and I thought, oh, let's work on this little one. And I was having a hard time getting this kind of thick embroidery floss through the needle, so I thought I would try a threader, and I pulled so hard that I pulled the wire out. So that actually wasn't as helpful as I'd hoped. Anyway, so I've got a couple of French knots and some, sort of triple cross stitches, and then I'm doing, it's not really a seed stitch. I think a seed stitch has like two little stitches going in the same direction. So this is whatever that version of not seed stitch that this is. So I've been having a need to have a good think, and somehow when I'm working on paper, it's really fine to have somebody. I listen to sort of podcasty kinds of things, people who talk and give speeches and stuff on YouTube and stuff like that, and yeah, I can listen to all of that when I'm working with paper, but somehow when I'm working with fabric, I don't know, disappear, or I'm, somehow not bothered by the things that bother me. Or I'm calm and peaceful. I don't know, something about that. And I don't need any noise in the background, which is great when a person needs to think some things out. And actually, I had the idea that this would be a good place to talk, and I think I need to figure some things out And I'm wanting, I guess I'm wanting your help. If you're willing to be civil, this is kind of a crunchy topic. I would I would be very interested to hear what other people think. I have been thinking about racism a lot. The world is full of racial violence is what it comes down to. It's not even just people thinking that, and let's be clear here when I say people thinking about racism. I mean, doing something about racism. I'm talking about white people. I think people of color don't, yeah, they're not really who this is all about. People of color are waking up and having breakfast and talking with their families and going to work and having their lives. And they're okay in their lives like that. And their lives only stop being okay when a white person has thoughts of racism and feels some feels an unfounded need to act out that racism. Racism isn't the problem of people of color. It's really only the problem of white people. I mean, I've heard stories that between people from Africa, people of Hispanic descent, people of Asian culture, all have feelings about each other, which we can call racism. But I think for the most part, the chaos that's going on in our country right now and, in the world, isn't about racism between different peoples of color. It's really the racism that white people have. And, I'm a white person. I live in the United States. I am, yeah, this is mine. And I'm not the fool in Georgia who shot anybody in Georgia or any state. I'm not burning anything. I'm not shooting anyone. But still, the racism is mine. What it comes down to is if people like me who, have some cultural inherited racism that's been hidden from our eyes, if we looked at our racism, if you are also Northwest European heritage and me, if we did our homework and we looked at the silliness and nonsense that goes on in our head about who has who has worth, who has similarity to me, who has worth in comparison to me, who has, it's similarity. When I look at my own racism, what I find is I think other people just because they come from another country or have a different skin color or have noses that are shaped differently or whatever it is I'm thinking. Yeah, it's just that people are different from me. And yeah, when I look at my racism, it's that I don't get what must be true, that all humans get born and have some sort of a life that includes whatever their education is about and whatever their home life is about, and then we make friends and we fall in love, and maybe at some point we do something about that, like get married, and maybe we have kids and we raise those kids and we get older and maybe we get wiser or maybe we don't, and then we cross over again. And yeah, everybody does that. I mean, everybody does that. Every culture in the world has music. Every culture in the world has, oh goodness, cooking favorites, and a whole lot of those cooking things have to do with the weather. I'm sure music is influenced by weather and region, and yeah. So it's not that it's not different. It's that it's yeah, it's somehow linked to value or worth. Or I keep trying to listen to these white supremacists. That's what they're called. People who get so frustrated at people who are not white, and I try to listen to what they say, like what's their real problem. And actually, it's not that. I don't know. I don't hear them talking about being different so much as I hear them talking about I hear the white supremacist people having a problem, and taking that problem and throwing it on somebody else. Like somebody doesn't have a job and they say, well, these people over here are trying to take my job from me. They're stealing all the jobs. Or as the case of the guy in Georgia, he said, this is like an amazing leap of thought. He said, I have a sexual addiction and therefore I killed these Asian women. And he said it wasn't a racial thing, it was all about his sexual addiction. Well, who cares what it's about? I mean, you don't get to, like, I've had this eating disorder my entire life, and does that give me somehow a justification to go and shoot up a grocery store because people are selling cookies and cakes and all those things I like in a grocery store? Yeah. And the idea that people have jobs that are meant for somebody else. I don't know. I mean, I get it that I don't really understand the job market, but I also understand from anybody I talk to that the job market has changed, specifically in the last year because of COVID. And there are now more jobs than ever where you don't have to live where you work. I mean, you can work remotely, and and there are, every year that the internet exists on the earth. Anyway, all of this is other people's problems. Although I do wonder at why people feel the need to shoot guns and burn things and riot and beat people up. I don't know, because of the color of their skin. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the racism that I have in me is slightly different than that. But I think that until I get to go clean out my house, my mind, from my ridiculous racial beliefs that I just grew up with. I grew up in a little tiny town in New York, north of the city, and it was mostly white, although there were some black people. There were a bunch of Jewish people. I remember as a kid, there was a big deal between who was Catholic and who was Protestant. I mean, I couldn't quite see that myself, but some people cared about these things. Yeah, until I clean up my perceptions of racism, I think it's unfair for me to ask the guy who shot the women in Georgia and the people who burned God knows what, and all that. I can't blame other people for racism if I'm not willing to look at my own. So, what I've been thinking about is just looking at my own racism. And when I look at that racism, I see that I have a lot of misperceptions of how my life is similar and disparate from people of other races. Yeah, and the reason I'm looking at my own stuff and hoping that other people will look at their stuff, yeah, is to clean up what is racism in this world, and it can only be cleared by white people. I think if every white person in the country, in the world, attended to the lumberyard in our own eyes, the racism that people of color have with other people of color would have nowhere to stand. So, and the part that's the major problem here is white people, and I'm a white person, and so everything belongs with me and my own self. Not that I'm the center of the universe. It's just that if I want something cleaned up, I have to clean me up first. I can't look outside of myself like the guy in Georgia. He can't be mad at other people that he has a sexual addiction. It doesn't work like that. Go to an AA meeting. You will hear that it doesn't work like that. It's all about me. We each have to clean up our own backyard, and nobody else can do it for me. The guy has killed 6 women and he's still a sex addict. So clearly that whole philosophy doesn't work. And the only way to get there is for us white people to take responsibility for the thoughts and beliefs in our own selves. And the guy in Georgia is not going to start. He's not going to be the first one. He sounds like he's in pretty deep to a whole range of being mixed up. So it's ours to start with. And as I look at my own racism, yes, this is all making, I don't know, it's making sense to me. As I look at my own racism, the thing that I find most startling is that other people are just like me. Black people are just like me. Asian people are just like me. I don't mean we look alike, and I don't mean that our cultures are the same. They're clearly not. But black people fall in love, white people fall in love, Hispanic people fall in love, Asian people fall in love. I mean, we all kind of do the same general stuff. Okay, so I'm going to tell you this thing that's really, really stupid, but it keeps coming up for me. Years ago, I was looking at, I don't know, a magazine or maybe it was a TV commercial kind of thing. And there was this black family. There was a black guy who had like a wife and a kid or something like that. And he was, I have no idea what the commercial was for. But he was outside in the backyard, and it was lovely green grass and trees, and it was all very pretty. And it was a sort of lovely summery day, and the guy was playing with his dog, which I recall, and this was I don't know, a couple of decades ago, I think. The dog was a golden retriever. And I thought, well, that's weird. Why is he playing with a golden retriever? And I caught the thought, there's some piece of information in my upbringing that told me that black people don't have the same lives as I do, that somehow black people wouldn't be interested in playing with dogs, which is really such an insanely stupid thought. And I'm deeply sorry for harboring that thought all these years. And if you are black, you get to be mad at me for holding that, although I didn't see it. You know how you believe something and it's so deep under you can't hear it. I didn't have tons. I mean, there were black kids in my school, and I even had a girl who's lived. There was a black section of town, so it's not like they were neighbors on my street. She was in my school, and And she and her family and a whole lot of other black families all lived on the same road in town. And, so there was this sense of otherness. And if people played with their golden retrievers in their backyards on that street, I never had the opportunity to see that. And I somehow got the idea that that just didn't happen. Really, I'm so sorry for harboring that thought. So, this is what I mean by confronting our own racism. It's incredibly humiliating to confess stuff like this. I feel like such a dope. But I think until we, white people, are willing to feel embarrassed and see the error of our thinking and our beliefs, there isn't any possible way that there will be space in this in the aura of thinking in this country for guys like the guy in Georgia to like get the idea that his sexual addiction is his own responsibility and he could kill 1,000,000 people and it would never take his addiction away from him. Really, go to a meeting. Yeah, but he's not going to be in any position to hear that until the rest of us white people talk about our own internal racism. So, if you have thoughts, I would love to hear them. Um, I I need the thoughts to be kindly, and you can tell me you're mad, but I don't want a lot of swear words. And I will need to probably delete those if you can't hold it in. Actually, the whole deal of this so and chat is that we get to take responsibility for our own thoughts and feelings. So I'm going to ask you to, take the responsibility to have a civil conversation in my comments, or, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to have conversation if you can't be civil. I want to learn here. I don't want to offend, and I don't want to have this be a source where other people can read offensive stuff. So yeah, so I'll yeah, that's not okay with me. So yes, our world is upside down. Our world is askew. And it needs our help. And my blessing for you today is may you be strong and may we all be clear. Thanks for listening. Bye.